Today, in the weekly review of the national and international issues, let's look at the Khalistani issue and the role of Canada in fomenting this trouble. Internationally, the dam burst in Libya and the consequent flooding that killed thousands, maybe a lakh of people in Libya. Both these issues, let us have a look at. First, the Khalistani issue. It's a fact that Canada has been sympathetic and has been supporting the Khalistani elements and the terrorists from their soil. But for that type of a support, the type of a bombing that happened on Kanishka flight from Canada to India would never have happened. Even after that has happened, what was the progress of investigation? Not much. Nobody has been pinned down and made responsible for that. And this happened during the tenure of the present Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau's father. And then, now this man, Justin Trudeau, who is the Prime Minister of Canada, is dependent on the Khalistanis for his very political existence. That's why he was unnecessarily taking a lead and trying to voice his concern about internal affairs of India, like the farmers' agitation, which he supported from Canada. But when farmers in Canada did an agitation, he crushed it with an iron hand. That's the double standards of these people. And then, of course, the recent Nizar killing. The way he's trying to make India responsible for this and exposing an embassy official is something very mean and not expected of a government in power. Whether he is doing alone or this is plot in which the other Anglo-Saxon countries who think that they still dominate and control the world are also partners, we'll only come to know in the future. These are, of course, England, USA, Australia and Canada. All these four countries are all the time keep sharing intelligence, working in unison, whether it's the Ukraine war or whatever it is. One thing is a fact. In the last 1 decade, India has really gone ahead, both economically and politically. Geopolitically also, it has become a very important nation. The way they have handled the Ukraine war, taken an independent stand, and still managed to survive without sanctions, speaks volumes about the way India is playing its role in the international affairs. The successful completion of the G20 recently in India and India becoming a voice for the global south is also a matter of concern for these countries who want to dominate the world. So I'll not be surprised if they are looking for some fault lines to weaken the country, and one of the fault lines they may be looking at is this Khalistan. Similarly, recently in The Economist, there was an article about the North-South divide. I mean, specifically, they can't talk of something good about India. They are looking for what are the fault lines on which they can play on. These articles don't come just like that as a matter of course. There's a deliberate design behind whatever they do. The Western press, the Western newspapers, and the Western governments. They play it up, then look for conspirators within the country to work with them. And we have lots of them. So people have to be careful, and very happy the way the government of India has responded. When Kanishka was bombed, what was our response? We didn't respond the way we should have. But now we are responding the way we should and telling him, this is where you stand, just get lost. I mean, even in case Nijar killing thing, What is that the Western world wants to tell? They can go ahead and kill Gaddafi, they can go ahead and change or be responsible for the killing of Allende in Chile and things like that. And then, when it is the issue of other countries, they keep on preaching. This is their double standard. We have to be watchful about our national integration, because the more and more we grow and more we become important internationally, these forces, along with their companions within the country, will try to foment internal troubles. This is exactly, I think, the design of Justin Trudeau when he is trying to foment these problems between Hindus and Sikhs in Canada, so that it can spill over into India and can become a problem. So I mean, we have to be careful and handle this properly and tactfully, so that we don't become a prey to their Machiavellian tactics. This, I think, is an important issue as far as this Khalistan thing that is going on in Canada. Then we consider an important incident that happened internationally during this week. That was the bursting of dam in Libya and consequent flooding and killing of almost all, maybe a lakh of people or more than that, because the whole city got washed away with huge flooding. How did it happen? There are two reasons. One is the climate change. Climate change is there, and there's no way we can escape from that. All that we have to do is to mitigate that. And it does not spare any country in particular. I mean, the developed countries as well as the less developed countries, both are equally vulnerable. But only thing is, when preparing for it or taking action after the incident, naturally the countries with better infrastructure, better wealth, have a much better response to the natural disasters compared to countries which are less endowed. But more importantly, this climate change, the emission of the unhealthy gases like the carbon dioxide and others, how do we prevent it? The Western world wants to impose it in such a way that it does not in any way interfere with their standards of living, and the price for that has to be borne by the less developed countries. This is ridiculous. Any day, if you want to contain climate change and reduce the emissions, that can only happen with a lifestyle which is more contented, less materialistic. Unless that attitude is there across the globe, these other remedies like sequencing of CO2 or better technology can only have a marginal impact but not a major impact. Otherwise, the world is doomed to suffer like this. With reference to Libya, the issue has become a double problem for them. One is the climate change, because of which that, like it is happening anywhere in the world, that Daniel storm, cyclone, after drenching Greece and other countries, came to Libya. Here they were ill prepared for it. The dam burst, and because of the dam burst, people have died. And why did it happen? Because of lack of maintenance. And for that, because there is no governance as far as Libya is concerned. And for that also, again, the NATO and the Western world is responsible. To get a proper view of this, we have to go a little back in history. In the 60s, the whole Arab world, there is one charismatic leader, Gamal Nasser from Egypt. He was not a theocratic leader. He was a secular socialist leader. And he impressed, and a lot of people were impressed by his ideology. And some of them developed themselves. One is Saddam Hussein in Iraq and Gaddafi in Libya. One thing, none of them is democratic. Neither Nasser was democratic, nor Saddam Hussein, nor Gaddafi. And there looks to be some fundamental problem with Islam and democracy. Wherever Islam is prevalent, democracy is not taking roots and sustaining. So that's a much bigger issue. But one thing is certain, out of the leaders, Gaddafi was definitely a better leader. He had the good of the people at his heart. The country has done well. The economy has improved well. And he has his own philosophy, which he expounds in his book, Green Book, where he tried to bring about a synthesis between Islam and socialism, communism. And when things were going well, he wanted a West African Union, a much bigger union of the Western countries, where France has some interest, Italy has some interest, England has some interest. Of course, America has interest everywhere. They were rattled. So the best thing is you start up a coup within the country, then make him the target, take the sanction of the UN. At that time, Russia and China have their own problems, so they just abstained. They didn't vote against it. Then NATO takes the lead and then bombs him and kills him. And then what happened? One thing is these Western countries and NATO are good at disrupting the systems, but can never substitute a good system for that. Either it is Iraq or Gaddafi, the existing fellow has been bumped off. Then you leave the country and leave it in a chaos. Now today in Libya, there are two factions, militias which are fighting, and one controls the east and the other controls the west. And nobody was looking at improving the infrastructure or taking care of the existing infrastructure. That's exactly why the dam has burst, resulting in the death of so many people. So this way, I think the Western world is really playing a very bad role in a unipolar world after USSR got disintegrated. Luckily now, the world is turning out to be a multipolar world, with India has some stake, Russia, China and others. And that's what they are now afraid of. That's why issues like this Khalistani movement support and all those things are coming. Let's hope Libya would have a better leader, whether democratically elected or otherwise, who can take care of the country and save the people in the much longer term. Thank you.